Hi, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started here in just 1 minute as some last minute people trickle in. All right, I say we get started. Josh, Ben, are you feeling ready?
Absolutely.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. I see your lovely faces, hear your voices. Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar on MZ Burning Glass and our merger update. Excited to be coming from Idaho. My name is Kara Christopher. It's snowing here. Josh and I are in our Moscow office in Idaho, and we're here with Ben Bradley, who's in our Boston office. Excited just over the next half hour to 45 minutes to get a time to have a discussion with these two lovely folks about what we've been up to as we've merged our two companies, and most importantly, the product updates that you all will be seeing coming here in the next few months. So as a way of introduction, my name is Kara Christopher. I'm SVP of Business Development here at MZ Burning Glass. I've been at the Legacy MZ company for a little under 4 years, and I'm here with really the two key people that are going to be sharing today's update, which is Ben Bradley. Ben comes from 7 years of experience at previous Burning Glass, where he led a lot of the labor insight work. And since we've merged companies, has been integral to the work that we're doing to bring our products and data sets together. So excited. Ben, do you want to say hello?
Hello, nice to meet you all. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. And then we're also here with Josh Wright. Josh has been at previous MZ or Legacy MZ for 13 years and has led our community and government division, which we call Community Insights here, for the past 4 years. And today's webinar is really focused around our government clients and economic workforce development, as well as our community clients and real estate foundations and beyond. So excited today to be talking about that. Josh, you want to give a hello?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're at, and excited for today's webinar.
Cool, thanks. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to give a little bit of background on our two companies, our merger, how we've come to the place we are today. We're going to dive into our product and data plans, give some more insight there on what's to be coming and answer any questions. And then we'll be discussing timelines and things that you all can be doing now in preparation for the changes ahead. And then really hoping to spend a lot of time answering any questions that you all have. So many of you are most likely aware of GoToWebinar at this point, but you are muted. So if you have any questions throughout this session as they come up, please use your chat function on the corner. I will be moderating that and monitoring it, and we'll make sure to get as many questions as we can answered. The goal of today is really to get any questions that you all have answered and be able to touch on the upcoming changes. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Josh, I'm curious if you can first and foremost jump in and give a little background on who is MZ and who is Burning Glass.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you for moderating, Kara. It's a pleasure to be with you all. MZ and Burning Glass were really the leading labor market analytics companies, and actually had been pretty direct competitors for the last 20 years. We have similar stories and timelines of coming to the market with different data, different maybe specialties and expertises, but similar offerings for the last really good, better part of 2 decades. So MZ is based in Idaho, as Kara mentioned. Burning Glass is based in Boston, where Ben is at right now. And we've, over the last 6 months, spent a lot of time merging our teams and now our technologies and our data together to bring the best of both. And really for MZ, Legacy MZ, that was a robustness and richness with combining government data sets with online job postings and resumes, profiles, and modeling data together. And for Legacy Burning Glass, that was the richness of the job posting data, especially that Burning Glass was at the forefront of many years ago, and bringing that to the market. And Ben was a key and integral part to that. So he can speak to that very closely. And we will talk about how we are bringing the richness of the job postings for Burning Glass into the really user-friendly platforms that MZ has offered as well.
Awesome, Josh. You mentioned 6 months. Can you talk a little bit about how the merger came together? You talked about the history of our individual organizations, as well as just when the news broke, kind of your excitement as you were looking forward to the two companies coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of years ago, Burning Glass was purchased by a private equity firm called KKR, based in New York and San Francisco. And, meanwhile, MZ had been a Strata education network company for the last 4 or 5 years. KKR and Burning Glass came together to purchase MZ this summer, and that's what brought, and then with the idea of merging 2 best-in-class labor analytics companies. And I think the excitement for us across our company, and especially our community insights team, which we represent here, is being super mission focused and being able to take our mission, which is to drive economic prosperity and mobility, help our clients use data to do that in their communities at just a whole nother scale. Legacy MZ worked with about 400 communities, states, regions to help at all different levels to help that, and Legacy Burning Glass had a whole different set of relationships and some of the same overlapping clients, but a lot of different relationships with great partners like the Conference Board and great groups like Jobs for the Future who we're both working with, so that we can really we're figuring out how do we bring the best of both from our relationships and our data together.
Yeah, you covered that well, that we were definitely competitors in the market, but when this hit, we also really felt that we paired well together. And I think that mirrored really nicely when one of our first action items was coming together to understand what our joint mission would be, and finding that our missions were actually really, really aligned. And so, Josh, you mentioned this mission, but can you dive in a little bit more to the vision and mission that we've put together as our combined company, and some action that we're putting behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the joint company has been coming together and strategizing about how we want to go forward, it's really around the vision of wanting to be a global authority on skills in the labor market. And so we do have a global footprint now, and that's our team focuses on North America, US and Canadian clients, but we have a global team really in literally every continent now, and that's both Legacy MZ and Legacy Burning Glass teams coming together. Our colleague Andy Derman leads that team in the UK, and then we have our higher education business as well as our enterprise and staffing business. And so we bring those all together because we want to connect each of those audiences, businesses, educators, people, and in the context of communities and regions. And so when we think about our mission, and we have folks who have worked at our client organizations who work on our team and really care about this, it's a really important thing because we know how important labor market data is to helping individuals make the right decision along their career path, helping communities offer workforce development, economic development organizations, offering them offering the right training programs, connecting to the right businesses, helping provide services to businesses and individuals. And labor market data is, I would say at this time, never been more important than the 13 years I've been at Legacy MZ, now MZ Burning Glass. I mean, I joined right as the Great Recession was hitting, and we knew that, I mean, it's super important at that point but we're at a whole different level now coming out of the pandemic, and we're seeing the tightness of the labor market, the demographic drought, all these huge wage pressure, lots of supply misalignment in the labor market from a supply and demand perspective. So I think the most exciting thing I'm really to drive our mission is how can we provide more robust real-time and predictive and prescriptive insights to our clients so that they can answer their most vexing questions.
Nice, really well said, especially jumping into what you're most excited about. So to wrap up, just a little bit of combining two companies, can you talk about the work that's been underway in the last 6 months, just bringing teams together? And then we'll jump in to really pick Ben's brain on how this is affecting our clients.
Sure. So really the first probably 2 to 3 months of the merger was spent almost exclusively on our people, on how to bring the best of both in terms of we have like folks like Ben who had been working generally with Labor Insight and some of the other installations of Labor Insight globally, but also had a real passion and had worked previously with their work on the workforce development projects. And we have, so it's that type of thing of saying who's most passionate about what, how do we bring the teams together, from our product teams to our sales to our customer service to engineering to data. And so that was a huge part of the first few months. It's a big undertaking, and I think we had, I couldn't be more excited about the team that we brought together inside Community Insights and the team that we have collectively at MZ Burning Glass. And then meanwhile, as we were really cranking through that, we also had some consultants, third-party vendors, and internally just reviewing both technologies, both the data sets, what's the overlaps, and understanding what could we bring from Burning Glass's tools and what could we bring from MZ's tools, and how do we, and then also how do we make sure that we're hearing the voice of our customers as much as possible through that. So we'll talk more about that. We did a lot of client interviews and client feedback sessions through all that. So now the rubber is hitting the road here in the coming weeks and months, and we're excited to talk more about actually what our clients, what you all will start to see in our products.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you for giving us a background on the two companies, where we're at today, and the hard work internally that has been put in to get us to the spot we are to be sharing with our customers today. So I want to direct now to Ben. Ben, who's been leading really the product and data integration work since we combined. Ben, can you start by saying what has been one of your I guess your major tenet of focus as you've looked to all of our data and our products and what can be best for our customers?
Yeah, so our focus really here has been thinking about how, as Josh said, how do we bring together the best of both worlds in product and in data, and make sure that our customers, as much as possible, are maintaining continuity in their work, that there's no breaks in their ability to perform the research that they want to, and that they need to meet their mission goals. And so we've been really focused hard on figuring out how do we make this a seamless process as much as possible, and help everybody out as they continue to work into different systems, whether you're coming from legacy Burning Glass or legacy MZ, and as we think about where we are going next.
Awesome, Ben. You mentioned that, and I think that's an important thing to discuss, that we're talking to customers that are coming from different journeys with us, ones that know different product sets or different data. So regardless and agnostic of product, can you talk a little bit about what we have early findings of the highlights that Burning Glass customers, legacy Burning Glass customers, can see?
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we think for the legacy Burning Glass customers, what is going to come as a part of this merger and as a part of these changes, what we're really excited to see there are, first of all, legacy MZ historically has done an excellent job of pulling public data, as we call it, unsuppressing that public data to be able to have an understanding of what employment looks like at really granular levels in a way that Burning Glass was never able to do. And so that's one example, but there are countless of these data sources that will now be available to legacy Burning Glass customers as a result of the merger. So the ability to answer far more questions than were ever able to be answered before using Labor Insight alone. A number of Labor Insight customers actually previously were subscribing to both Labor Insight and the developer product. And so really excited to help make that process easier by having a single place to get the data. Another really exciting thing that we found is just the power of the modern platform that MZ has built. And so a number of features and desires that customers have had in the past from Labor Insight around how do you download, how do you make things, charts and pictures and make things really presentation worthy very quickly and easily, so that it is not just I can get data, but I can quickly plug it into grant applications, use it in presentations, use it to solve my problems and bring to my stakeholders. It's something that will now be available to legacy Burning Glass customers without going through a set of massive development cycles within the organization.
Awesome. Can I direct that same question? What can MZ customers look for, legacy MZ customers look forward to?
Absolutely. So for legacy MZ customers, the big exciting initial change, especially that we'll be seeing, is access to best-in-class job postings data. And so Burning Glass at its core was a company that built pipelines for understanding job postings, for going and getting them ourselves, being able to enhance and enrich what comes out of those postings, and then get those out into the world. And that will be, as a part of this merger, coming over so that MZ Burning Glass as an organization now has full control over our job postings pipeline and the ability to not only see the best in class, but also be able to update and fix those postings as we go. We've done significant work in the past assessing those job postings. They really align well with JOLTS job openings. And so being able to use the postings data now in a way to more specifically understand the demand in a vacancy way as opposed to an advertisement way. And this is one of the sort of differences that had come from MZ and Burning Glass. Fundamentally coming together, though, we're able to move in this direction of being able to think more economically about how do we provide that information on the number of vacancies that are available. And finally, and we can get into some of the details, there's a number of models that we have built over the years off of job postings around things like career pathing, understanding how skills and occupations are connected beyond just sort of what is the top 10 list, that we're excited to offer to all of our customers now as we move forward, which is really important as you think, as Josh said, to how do we get more prescriptive, right? How do we make sure that we're not giving you the data that allows you to go figure out how do you get somebody a new job, but we're actually telling you what are those skill gaps between jobs A and B. How do you help people get the training that they need in order to do that?
Yeah, I know I can articulate the same, that when we came together and we got to, from the previous MZ, got to look at what Burning Glass was doing, my light bulbs were going off. And I know the same for Ben coming from Burning Glass of just, oh my gosh, our customers have really wanted XYZ, and there's not been a way for us to get to that really fast. And so our ability to come together, just seeing so much exciting things that we can now bring to you all. So
For sure.
So do you want to jump in and talk about just all customers, regardless of where their access point has been in products, what they can expect through this merger?
Absolutely. And so, right, what we, as you said, right, what we just sort of covered is what are the changes for Burning Glass specifically? What are the changes for MZ specifically now for everyone, right? In parallel with the merger and as part of joining the teams together to be able to get the best thoughts and insights across here, there's a number of spots where we have started to move immediately, right? One is really making sure that the employer and industry classification that we have is improving for everybody. Wherever you are coming from, legacy MZ or legacy Burning Glass, the employers are becoming cleaner. The way that we understand how employers relate to each other is getting better, and the way that we classify industries from there so that you can really dig into that industry information is an important improvement that we're working on. Secondarily, right, we have skills. We each had our own skills taxonomy. We are bringing those together in a way that will allow us to have better depth and breadth. This is really an exciting, where the two organizations come together really nicely. Burning Glass historically had built out a really nice skills taxonomy where you have a hierarchy. So it's not just a list of skills, but how do skills relate to each other, and how do you group them, and how do you think about skills that are replaceable. With that came some slowness on introducing new skills. MZ is much better at introducing new skills and understanding the emergence of skills more quickly. In the combined organization, we'll have both. So the ability to add skills more quickly when something is emerging, put it into the data, find it, and make it available to you all, but also keeping those connections between them so that when a new skill emerges, you know, like, what is it similar to? Where does it come from? Is this a software development skill, or is it something else entirely? And then finally, for all of us, and I touched this some on the models that Burning Glass had, but across the board, really putting a lot of effort in building out a strong team to think about how do we give you actionable insights, right? You, as customers, you have limited time to be digging into the data. You are not all like we are, who can spend all of our time running pivot tables and playing with the data or writing SQL queries. You have the rest of your job to do. And so how do we more quickly make that available to you with, like we say, those actionable insights on what does career pathing look like? What are the relationships between two jobs, and what should I do with this information? And that is really a core piece of how we are thinking right now moving forward.
Can I jump in really quickly, Kara?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that on the career pathing side. I think one of the broader trends that we've seen, and I mentioned a few things like intense wage pressure that our companies are facing, opportunity, inflation, the broader, very tight labor market. But on the career pathing side, it's been one of the very common things that we're hearing from our clients is, how can you help us understand and help individuals with upward mobility understand connections between where they're at and where they could go in their careers. And so when Ben mentioned the models team that Legacy at Burning Glass had, and the first time I was able to be introduced to that models team, I was really actually quite giddy and excited, just palpable with excitement in terms of the opportunity to, again, bring what MZ had done and what now that Burning Glass and that models team has done to our products, and to help you all in your communities, or as consultants or whoever, to be able to help your clients and help your customers succeed.
Awesome. Thank you both for giving the background of where we're at, some exciting but broad things that can be expected. As we've all articulated, we're focused on, first and foremost, bringing products together, and then second, and on top of that, what can come next that our customers have not seen. But really the heart of today's webinar is to discuss our product integration that is underway. So Ben, we've been dancing around or talking about products, a product called Developer and a product called Labor Insight. Can you jump in and talk about those research platforms that both of our customers use, and the decision that was made to bring them together, and how we're looking at that?
Absolutely. And so, right, you're right. And there's really been a lot of excitement as we go through this and figuring out how do we bring everything together. As I said, trying to maintain continuity as much as possible. The truth is that at some point, however, there are changes that will need to be made. And so, as Kara said, that's the bulk of here, is how do we think about what are those changes, and how do we make sure everybody is aware of them. So as we reviewed our two products, the research products, right? So Developer coming from the MZ side, Labor Insight from the Burning Glass side. They both offered a lot of great information, do what they planned to do really well. However, what we have decided in looking at that is Developer as a platform had a few really important characteristics that were different, right? One was the ability to easily toggle between different countries for data, which is something that legacy labor insight customers have asked for. We were not able to provide. Now we are. It is a more modern platform that is more up to date, and it has, as I said, a lot of that public data information already into it. And at the same time, it had a place for us to think about where the postings go, which was the core piece of the Burning Glass value proposition. And so moving forward, we will be building on top of the developer platform. So starting with what it looks like today, but really enhancing it by bringing over the most important features from Labor Insight. And so Josh referenced this, but we spent much of the last 6 months talking to customers, especially legacy Labor Insight customers, to talk about what are those most important features. Looking at the usage of the product to say, what should we be bringing over? Because this is a specific value add for MZ customers, and it will give Labor Insight customers a reason to come over and feel that everything that they need exists in Developer. And that's a really important piece that I want to focus on, right, as we think about the product integration, is that we are trying to make sure that we're not telling you you have to log in somewhere else. You're going to want to, because Developer is going to have everything that you wanted and needed from Labor Insight, answering all the questions, and then more. And so that is our plan on the products moving forward.
Yeah, I think really well said, and something you communicated at the beginning, which is the tenet for any change is really around innovation based on what you all, the customers, are telling us that they need, and developing prescriptive data. So that is continuing to be the #1 focus, and why it's taken the time it's taken for us to be coming now with changes. What was exciting, as Ben alluded to, is that we had a lot of customers that have been subscribing to both Labor Insight and Developers. So the fact that we were able to speak with them, understand what they were getting in one product versus the other, and combine the best of both worlds. So excited from afar to see that is absolutely being true in the decisions that are being made in the product, and excited to continue to see that customer-led innovation. So thanks, Ben, for leading that work. Can you dive in and talk a little bit about the features, the key features that will be coming into Developer as part of the merged offering?
Absolutely. And so, right, the first one that I want to start with, and that we heard a lot from our customers, and that we continue to hear from legacy MZ customers as well as an ask. Burning Glass over the last 10 years developed our own occupation taxonomy that runs in parallel with Stock and ONET, but gets far deeper. And so we historically called them the Burning Glass occupations, and specialized occupations under them. We'll be rebranding those as a part of the joint organization. But it's really an important opportunity to help customers understand the nuances of the market, right? We have been tracking data scientists as an occupation for a decade. And so going back in time, being able to tell you, how has that occupation grown? How have the skills changed? How has it grown across industries and changed where the demand is? That's one example, right? If you think about ONET's at roughly 1,000 of them, we have more like 2,000 specialized occupations. And so having that ability to see more in-depth data, and for customers who are looking at data across the globe, being able to also see that comparison across the globe, as that is a taxonomy that we apply to all of our postings, no matter where we are pulling that data from. And so that's one really exciting early one. As a feature within the product, a few important ones. We have this part of Labor Insight called Create Reports, for those of you who used it, but that is a place where you can slice job postings any which way, down to getting the one posting with some huge set of skills in an occupation in a really granular location, and then being able to dig in and see the job postings that actually associate with it. So getting more in depth than JPA for how much you can slice the data, and then also being able to see more postings to be able to gut check it, to understand how people are talking about roles, to really see those things. We'll be bringing that over to developer as well. I can keep going, but one last one that I'll touch on, and then we can come back, is we had developed, trying to think about that relationship between the skills and occupations. We had developed what we called the skills pyramid. It was a big hit with a lot of legacy Burning Glass customers across the board, Labor Insight, our APIs elsewhere as well. But it's a way to really help get past the fact that communication is the number one skill for roughly every occupation. Important to know, but what you more likely are asking is, what are the skills that define an occupation? What are the skills that I as an individual may have that would distinguish me within an occupation from my peers? And then sort of what are those common skills, the necessary skills, as we call them, that you need across the board, like communication, where you need it everywhere, but knowing communication doesn't make you a sales manager. It just is a thing that you need. And so bringing that in and some other pieces that go with that, like what are the skills that add value to an occupation, that make it harder to fill an occupation, those sorts of questions we're bringing over as well.
I know I can say I'm really excited about the specialty occupations. We have done a good job in communicating and describing and giving a name to more occupations, whereas previously in developer, clients would be developing those in themselves. So the fact that we can have information that can be more widely shared, researched, looked back in history will be really a game changer. Josh, would you add anything to that?
No, I just would echo your comments, Kara, and to Ben's point as well, the relationship between the skills. Our legacy MZ clients have often used our skills transferability report that looks at ONET, knowledge, skills, and abilities, and what we're going to be able to do with related skills out of job postings in a similar and even deeper fashion, I think will be really exciting and super helpful, most importantly.
Yeah. So we talked about how Labor Insight will be really merging into the developer platform, and developer platform being the new place of access to this data. So can you talk about customers' access and use of Labor Insight going forward?
Yeah, so our plan right now, Labor Insight is not getting turned off immediately. Our plan is to open up access to developer to legacy Burning Glass customers. If you haven't already, then early 2022, and we'll talk about that timeline in a second. And then really work with customers as we unveil all of these features that I have been talking about in the tool, the most important features from Labor Insight. Really watch the usage where customers start to sort of self-select that they only need to go into developer. Everything that was previously in Labor Insight that was needed has been ported over or enhanced upon within the developer platform, so that as customers see that they don't need Labor Insight, they stop using it. An important piece there, just to highlight, this research is ongoing. Josh said at the beginning, the rubber is hitting the road. We have had conversations with many of you. You have told us what you want, but it's been sort of hypothetical. Now it's not hypothetical anymore. You have the opportunity to go into developer and say, this is failing to meet what I needed because this particular report is missing, or this piece of understanding the data is missing. And we'll continue to have those conversations so that when we know what is missing, we can move it over. We can make sure that we enhance it so that developer is the only place that you need to go. And that you want to go. You will have a single place to log in, no longer bouncing between two different applications.
Yes, and we'll dive into more of the details on timing for expectation. Yeah. Really helpful to know that we don't want to pull any rug from under anyone, and at this time want to make sure that you're feeling really good about the one place of access before we make the changes. We talked a little, we've been talking and focusing a lot around developer and labor insight, and not to go into a crazy amount of detail because I want to save some time to talk about data and methodology. Can you just broadly talk about other products, from APIs to Career Coach to other products that customers on the line may be familiar with and wondering what's happening with them?
Yeah, so across the board, in general, the answer is the legacy MZ product solution is the solution that we'll be moving towards while porting features over to support that. Right, so Career Coach will continue to exist. Career Insight, which was a Burning Glass product, we will be shifting folks over. Similar on the education side, Program Insight, the questions that Program Insight was answering will be moved over to the analyst developer platform. APIs, generally the same, moving to what traditionally was the MZ API. There's a bit more work going on there, which is really exciting. One of the big differences in many ways between the Burning Glass APIs, especially what we call the unified API for legacy Burning Glass customers, was how it really got to providing answers a little bit more than data. So we have a Career Pathways API that is very specifically, given an occupation, where should I go? What are the skill gaps? How do I bridge that gap? And so porting that over, rebuilding, I'm not going to get into the technical, what the API team is doing there, but making sure that that functionality is core to the MZ Burning Glass APIs moving forward will be the case. But sort of the language and the way that you call the APIs will be the legacy MZ moving forward.
Awesome. So as you all are very aware, we are two data companies together, and the products are how we're delivering that data to you. But obviously, to get to that point, really the majority of what we've been focusing on are the methodologies and how we're bringing our data together. So I want to jump into that now, Ben. And can you talk about really that biggest, it's been discussed, but what will we be moving forward with in terms of job posting data? What methodology going forward?
Absolutely. And this is sort of, I think, the elephant in the room, if you will. And so moving forward, what our plan will be is to replace the postings that traditionally were in Developer with the postings that came from Burning Glass and were traditionally in our suite of Labor Insight products. And so we'll talk a little bit more about the details of what that means, but it really is about bringing over what we identified as the best data set for understanding job postings, and importantly, along with that, a data set that we 100% control. And so we can respond to customer concerns and issues around miscodings or missing employers very quickly and more robustly because we control the whole thing. Importantly, as we think about helping Labor Insight customers as they move over to Developer, what this will mean is that come January, to give a sneak preview on the timeline, the job posting numbers that are in Labor Insight will be the same as what is in Developer. And so for anyone who has been in the two and has had questions about why are there discrepancies here, there will no longer be discrepancies. We will be all calling the same core job postings data set.
Awesome. Can you jump into, will the effects that this may have on access to historic job posting data?
Yeah, so the first point, so historically, as you think about Developer going back in time, the Burning Glass postings will replace all historically. And so there's not going to be a break where the source or methodology has changed within Developer. It will be a full replacement going back in history. Along with that, Burning Glass data goes back further than legacy MZ postings data. So our data goes back to 2010. That's not going to immediately be available within Developer, but it's on the roadmap to continue to extend further back, providing that data for the context that it provides on growth.
Awesome. I know I want to dive into a few things. Really excited about this coming from the legacy MZ side, that we're going to have more control. And I know Ben mentioned this, but more control over our job posting data, so that when concerns pop up or there's errors or issues, we can access, and our actual data scientists and data engineers have control over that data. So that's going to be just a huge point of focus and benefit as we move forward. Into the nuances a little bit, legacy Burning Glass folks, can you talk about that, Ben, when they get access into developer, the changes that they'll see, and then the legacy MZ folks, what they will be seeing?
Yeah, so legacy Burning Glass folks, when it comes to the job postings, very little change. There will be the most specific at the start is we are slowly integrating our skills taxonomies, and so the skills will be a little bit different. There will be, as I said, employers and industries. We have a better merged way to understand those. But at the core, the raw, how many postings are there in what locations, very little will change. For legacy MZ customers, those posting numbers are going to change a bit more significantly, and we just need to name it and have the conversation. Right, what we're expecting to see is that the posting numbers will drop on average by about 20%. From what you see in developer today to what will be in developer after the Burning Glass postings come in. To touch on the reason for that, right, and that is a consistent over history, right? So if you're looking at time series, how does it change? The whole thing is shifting, like I said, not going to be a break. There's a few main reasons for that. One, and they're all sort of based on the same thing, right? Burning Glass really focusing on trying to get the best idea of how do we understand vacancies and not advertisements. And so what this means is that we have put significant effort into understanding how to deduplicate and how do you get rid of especially what we often call sort of spammy job boards. And so where you most often see this are things like truck driving job postings that are posted in every town within a state. And that does not mean that they are hiring one per town. And so how do we make sure that we control for that? Oracle is another place where you see Oracle job postings just sort of everywhere. If you compare the number of advertisements for Oracle jobs to the number of people who work at Oracle, that ratio just does not make sense. And so we have done a lot of work to really think through how do you control that? How do you correct for that? And then finally, gig economy jobs, where we are much stricter on, right, being an Uber driver is not a job in the sort of traditional sense of a job. And it is important to the economy that we understand where are Uber drivers being hired, and these are things that people are doing. They are jobs to individuals, but they don't necessarily track with what is happening in the economy. And if you're trying to use job postings to understand economic trends, gig economy jobs like Uber drivers and Uber Eats are probably not the place to start.
Really helpful. I got a question I want to add from a customer. So I'm a legacy Burning Glass customer. Will we have the same features and dashboards we had with Burning Glass, in particular, the ability to look at individual job postings and add or exclude specific job titles, keywords, employers, etc.? So good opportunity to talk a little bit, Ben, about features that'll be moving over.
Absolutely. And so we will be building Create Reports specifically for that reason, to mirror many of those desires, right? How do we exclude a job title or include a specific one? Managing those sort of ands and ors between different fields is something that developer as it exists today is not as flexible on, but we are working on rebuilding that today so that it will be available. Getting down to the individual job posting, we will have that when we move into Create Reports. And then when you think about the dashboards, this is where much of our research is going. So dashboards around the occupation dashboards and related jobs, those sorts of ones, we know for sure we will be rebuilding. Our time to fill dashboard, we likely will be adjusting some and merging with data and information that we have from MZ, but really making sure, importantly, that the questions that you are asking of each of the within those dashboards, we will make sure that you're able to answer those questions. It may look and feel a little bit different, but the use case is still there.
Awesome. So we talked about the methodology change. We talked about the product changes. Are there other data points other than job posting data and methodology that will be changed?
So nothing else that is in developer today from the standpoint of the core LMI will be changing. That this is purely about job postings coming over from Burning Glass, and then eventually sort of the models that are built on top of them that will also likely change, or in most cases be an enhancement that is new to developer. But employment numbers, the demographics, everything along those lines, we will not be touching. That was one of the core strengths of legacy MZ. Now it is a core strength of MZ Burning Glass. We don't want to change that.
Awesome, well said. So you talked about enhancements. I think a lot of this is, again, getting products together, methodologies together, but what can clients expect that's coming new or next in the roadmap?
Yeah, absolutely. So right, early in the roadmap, like I said, right, starting with the postings, then bringing over that occupation taxonomy and the merging of the skills taxonomies. Importantly, with the occupation taxonomy, will be not only in postings, but also mapping it to public data, right? So not changing the public data, but being able to go in and say, I want to understand employment for data scientists. Bad example because it's known at 2019. But I want to understand, if I want to understand data scientists, telling you here's the most similar ONET or SOC to that Burning Glass occupation, so that you can get some sense of what are the demographics of the occupation and those sorts of things. What we're then moving towards is really understanding things like skill projections, which Burning Glass has historically done, really thinking about career ladders and reskilling. And that is one of the early points of focus for us as a team as we think about the integrated product and where to go. And to really, how do we help with thinking about reskilling and helping workers move ahead.
Great. So we've mentioned this a few times, but what are specific ways in which customers can continue to provide feedback as we've done the early and ongoing interviews, but what are the next steps and where customers can provide feedback?
Yep. So we will continue to be reaching out and making contacts, but at the same time, definitely reach out to your account manager. We also will be sharing Josh and my contact information at the end of this. So feel free to reach out to me directly to say, hey, I'm concerned about this. I want to know how you're going to solve problem A, B, or C. And I'm happy to then schedule a time for us to talk that through so that we can make sure that we are serving you and getting you what you need.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. We really do want to hear from you, and some of the questions that have been coming in already have been really valuable in the webinar. And it is super important that we don't want to leave any rock uncovered in this, in the sense of this is a longer process of we're being as deliberate as possible and moving as fast as possible, but we also want to hear, if there are small functionality things, bigger data things, taxonomy thing, whatever it might be that you want to see or would love to see to help you do your job.
Absolutely. Okay, with 15 minutes left, or a little under, want to jump into timeline. So when can changes be expected? Also, what can you all be doing right now in preparation for those changes? And then leave some time for question and answer. Already seen a few questions come in, so if you have any, please feel free to use that question section. So Ben, jumping in to talk about timelines and next steps, can you jump in on the timeline of the work that you just described?
Yes, absolutely. So high level, right, the job posting switch for legacy developer customers or within developer. So if you were using developer, the switch, if you were using Labor Insight, when you'll see the matchup will be coming in early January. We'll have the specific date very soon. We're going through some final checks to make sure that we can give you a date that doesn't move, but definitely early January. And then as we look to February, that change will be happening for our postings in the UK and Canada. Same switch, so moving to the Burning Glass job posting feed. And then as we go throughout Q1, we'll be unveiling these enhancements on a fairly regular cadence. So things like bringing in the Global Occupation Taxonomy, formerly Burning Glass Occupations, and ONET 2019, which I know has been a big ask from customers of both products in recent months. Bringing over Create Reports, merging those skills hierarchies, and then really thinking about all of our models that Burning Glass had built and how do we get those into the product will be Q1 and early Q2. So similarity between jobs and skills, career pathing, salary models, those sorts of pieces. Our goal is that sort of as you look toward the end of Q2, everything Labor Insight customers want is available in Developer, and we'll have that single point of entry to serve all of your needs.
Awesome. Ben, I'm going to slot in a question from a customer here. I think you covered, but a good opportunity to just reiterate. I am a legacy Burning Glass user, and we run many reports on occupation demand by ONET code. Will this still be available?
That will still be a piece that you can do within Developer.
Perfect. And then I think a good segue, can you talk about what's exciting about ONET 2019 coming in, especially for that?
Yeah, so ONET 2019 is, right, it is really important. It is obviously the federal government taxonomy that is more updated. So some of those occupations, like data scientists, that Burning Glass Occupations has been sort of a competitive advantage for us in the last few years. We will now have that information. Which allows us to have information like the employment and the demographics, the salary data, all of those pieces that come along with it. In addition to ONET 2019, right? The OES data come March will align with SOC 2018 and ONET 2019, which is important there. But it is a really important federal enhancement to the taxonomy that allows all of that core LMI data to catch up on what we have been seeing in job postings for the last several years.
Yeah, so just to describe that in a slightly different way, we've been using an older ONET taxonomy, which means that cybersecurity occupations that have not been in that taxonomy have been created by the specialized occupation that taxonomy that Burning Glass had that will be coming in, that Ben has mentioned. But by having 2019, we get to just update the data set as of 2019 by the government definition, and then get to advance that even more to new occupations that are being developed even today. So just really exciting for us to come forward and then look forward. So really excited about that. So what can clients be doing now or in preparation for that timeline ahead, and especially in January?
Yes. So right, the place where I would start is for legacy MZ customers, right? What you will expect is that in early January, your job postings data will change. You will see this decrease in the sort of raw counts, right? What I want to emphasize there, and I should have earlier, right? It is a raw decrease, but for the most part, the trends are the same, right? The line graph over time roughly equates to each other between Burning Glass and MZ, just sort of shifted down. And then that distribution across occupations, at least occupation families and industries, for the most part, lines up. So there's not a massive change in the story. There's just a change in the specific number that you are looking at. That being said, we would encourage you to really think about using the next 15 days, especially running into the end of this year, to finish up pieces of research where those raw numbers matter, because you're going to get that switch in January, and what you don't want is to have to redo everything just because you're coming in and saying, hey, everything moved a little bit. And so that would be our encouragement for the rest of this year. And then early next year, and we'll be in touch about the specific date, but look out for that new data to be able to get in and get comfortable with it. For legacy Burning Glass customers, what we suggest is that you reach out to your account managers, start exploring developer and the MZ APIs, getting used to the interface, right? It is a new interface. It is the change. It's intuitive. It works really nicely, but it's not Labor Insight. And so get comfortable with it, start to see what it is. And then especially once the data goes live in January, really get in there and start to say, okay, see where is this better? Where is there something missing that I need to ask for, so that we can have those conversations and make sure that we are serving you to the best of our ability.
Awesome. Yeah, I think definitely we want to describe that we're really excited about this change coming forward, but change is also hard, and want to prepare you all with the training, the knowledge, the information that you need to be set up for that. So that rounds out really the details we want to discuss, and wanting to dive into some question and answer through our panel. So a couple of things, Ben, that I know are going to be important. Will the former data be available within the tool? So like, can a client right now, when that happens in January, toggle between the different methodologies?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is no. When we make the switch, it will be a pure switch, right? We have identified a better source of job postings. And so we are going to put that the best information in your hands come January. And so we'll support you through what can be a difficult transition, but we firmly believe that what we are offering you is a better product with better information that more well represents what's happening in the world. And so we're not giving that ability to jump back and forth.
Yeah.
And just to jump in there to reiterate, I think, it's on us to make sure you all have as much notice about that and room to be able to finish out those analyses that you are using on the legacy MZ job posting feed if you're doing that. And to anticipate one of the questions, Kara, that I know came in, is we will definitely be doing a lot of training and customer service tutorials on for legacy Burning Glass clients on the new platform, and for legacy MZ clients on the new data feed.
Absolutely. I think one other important thing for our legacy MZ folks, will they be able to access saved reports? And can you talk a little bit about that change methodology? What will happen to historic data?
Yep. And so, saved reports at their core are saved filter criteria. And so those will continue to work, right? And all of the data points that you are used to, the ability to see employers and occupations and titles and all of that, we will still be parsing into that and enriching the postings with everything that you are used to having. And so those will still work. You'll still be able to go in and run your saved reports. So if you have saved those reports and you want to sort of hit rerun, on February 1st, we'll say, you'll be able to go in and do that and do it historically.
Awesome. Question here. Will you be having training programs coming in January?
Yes. And so Josh just named that, right? We will definitely be offering training to support, as we said, both, right, whether it is learn the new platform or learn the new data, we'll be offering training around that.
Yeah, and one point of emphasis I would put on that, just for any nuanced question of getting access into developer if you don't have it, expected changes, expected training, please reach out to your account manager if you haven't done so, just to get yourself on their radar and make sure that you're getting the needs that you have. But yes, more broadly, we'll be discussing those timelines coming forward and broader trainings to support. Okay, I'm jumping in, Ben, on another question. Can you clarify, are the numbers that will likely decrease by 20% the job, occupation, employment numbers available in developer? Is there a different job posting app through MZ? Because I use Burning Glass for all of our job posting related data, but not currently in MZ. So Ben,
if you currently use Burning Glass, you will not see a drop. The drop is for current MZ customers. If you go in today to developer and say how many job openings were there, or how many postings were there over the last 12 months, it will be roughly 20% higher than what it will be after this switch, which, right, is the same as it is roughly 20% higher than what is in Labor Insight today. So if you're a legacy Burning Glass customer, APIs or anything, or a Labor Insight, your counts won't move.
Yes, and I think what this customer also may be alluding to, which I want to describe, that many legacy MZ customers may or may not have access to a job posting analytics module that is a part of developer. So the assumption here is maybe that they may not have that access turned on for their job posting analytics, which will definitely be a place of where this innovation and data and methodology is coming into. So with that, we're right at the top of the hour. I would love to end, Josh, if you could just give a really quick, what does success look like for you and for our customers as we move forward here in the next year?
Yeah, I think the simplest way to state what success will look like is that we have a better opportunity, that our clients have a better opportunity to drive mobility, equity, and prosperity in their regions, and that they're getting the data they need to make those decisions. More, like Ben said, more actionable, hopefully more prescriptive, some more predictive elements that they can use, that you all can use to help your communities prosper, to help your clients find jobs, or your businesses find talent. And if we're not doing that, we want to hear from you. There's a lot of work ahead, but we've been prepping for this for several months now, and we're excited for you all to start seeing these changes, to start seeing the data in the different in MZ's platform from the Burning Glass job postings, and to start seeing some of the cool functionality as well. So we want to hear from you. Here's our contact information, and please contact your account manager as well.
Yeah, and I want to wrap up with a customer, a longstanding partner and customer that wrote in and said, this has been a really helpful overview of exciting changes coming. I see this as a win-win. Everyone gets more data, and together we can make more progress in equity and mobility. That's just very, very well said about where we're headed, where we're focused. So thank you everyone for the time today. Really, really appreciate it. Josh and Ben's contact information is here, as well as your account manager available for any upcoming changes. I'm happy to dive in, happy to provide training, and really, really happy to be providing really the best in class data to you all as we move forward. So thanks, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.